My name is Mae. So basically, I have been a journalist for about a decade plus now. And I recently quit. I quit last year. I left the Age to explore other areas and other work. So I'm now in a corporate company doing content still. But my passion is still in writing, and when I can. So just to quickly run through some of the mediums that we talk about when we talk about covering art in Malaysia, especially. So I wrote for a newspaper. I've also written for magazines and digital publications. Some of you have blogs. Some of you have heard of radio shows, podcasts nowadays, social media. So when I say listings, it's like, you go to Kaki Seni last time, and then there are all the boxes. Then you click there, there's like listings, promo. And then I personally did a lot of this, pre-interviews, also press release to promote a show in Malaysia, because the art shows are often very, very short. And when you're a weekly paper, it has to be a pre-story because you want people to go to the shows. We want to support the shows. At least that's the stance we took at the Age, as well, I'm sure, as the Star. So Malaysia, by the time you want to do a review, the show has ended. So very often, this is the majority of the type of coverage you will see is pre-show, promo, pre-interviews. Of course, like Critics Republic will do reviews, especially for dance, maybe, and theatre. Of course, you have art news, what are the latest happenings. Example of art news, I purposely screenshot my two favorite stories recently because art can be very funny if you're into visual art. I like that they sold a banana for like 120,000. And the most recent one was the guy, this was genius, this artist in Denmark who was commissioned by a museum to do some works. And the works was about a theme of like working life. And so he said his idea was, to take the money and run if you're an employee. And do go and research this story, it's quite funny. And there's really a lot of things to talk about. Yeah. And commentary pieces, which I do some of, topical. So you talk about things like the Diana statue that came out recently. This was a piece I wrote quite recently. And on the right corner here, you see the Beyonce and Jay-Z piece with Tiffany and Co, where there was a famous painting at the back that was quite rare. So we talk about, what does that mean? What is this? And you get people to chime in and that kind of stuff. Of course, if more blogger style or a more personal column or your own platform, you can be more anecdotal. You can be very personal in your tone. You can, we see a lot of this in the blogs that support the arts. I'm sure there are a lot of you who do that as well, maybe in your Facebooks and all that as well. Of course, reviews and critiques. In Malaysia, I would say we'll come to that a bit more, but in Malaysia, I would say this is the area where we lack a little bit. We don't do as much. Maybe it's our culture also. I think it comes back to the education thing. We never really had that kind of level of education, and you really need to sort of kind of be immersed to be able to really quite well-roundedly critique something and review. And even when we review in theatre, yes, we see more reviews. I think in visual arts, maybe on personal platforms, or mainstream platforms, not so much. Yeah, and analysis, Beverly, who will be taking one of your sessions, she is someone who I regard as an expert, and someone who has academic background, art writing, like curatorial writing, that kind of thing. I think in that category you will see in art exhibitions. I think when you want to think about your style and your voice, it's something that you have to develop, and I think you have to. But generally in Malaysian arts writing, as I said before, what trickles down is we lack the foundations for that, the critical voice. And of course, some people would say there are a lot of internal politics as well. or you should be supporting the arts. Why are you criticizing it? Why are you criticizing? Our culture is very non-critical, but there is space and there is room for critical writing. I think it's also how we do it, and it's a responsibility that you have to take very seriously. That means you have to earn your right for it, I feel. So this is a line that I wrote. I think not everyone is a critic. I don't have maybe a stomach for that kind of level of criticism, but everyone should have a critical thinking voice. I think that is very important. That means in everything we write, we should have an informed voice, and that is the direction that every one of us should work towards. Like how to look at the career of an artist, the evolution of the career of an artist. They say if you want to assess artists, you should look at their work in retrospective. That means from now and then look back and see how far they've come and what has changed. And every good artist should have an evolution, and definitely in their thought process as well, and their maturity as well. Read like The Guardian, read like New York Times, read overseas shows also, never mind. Read credible sources, especially news. I think I'm more biased towards the British style of writing, especially in theatre and also visual arts, but definitely read a breadth of things. And also in Asia, look into some of the Asian publications, SCMP, if it's a newspaper, credible like Plural Art Mag, Art and Market. These are some of the websites. Our responsibility often is to present the show and the artist in the most accurate way possible. While I know creative arts writing can be creative, we have our own voice, but you cannot misrepresent the work. You cannot misrepresent the intention of the artist as well. You can comment on it later, but we have to try and understand what they want to achieve in that sense before we can add our own garnishings to it. So can I be an arts writer? I think it's a bit late to ask that question now if you're here. But I just wanted to throw it out there. A lot of people say what it takes. There are some criteria that we should have or build and develop. So number one for me always is, are you curious? Do you like the arts? Definitely, that's very important. And coming back to are you curious, I think very key is to ask why. The question why is very important. Are you empathetic? Do you try and put yourself in the shoes of the person you're writing about? Do you try and put yourself in the shoes of the artwork or the show or the performance? Or even, but it doesn't mean you have to be feeling semua lah. They say you can be a realist, you can be emotionalist, you can be a formalist. Formalist is more academic, and emotionally you are more instinctual, you feel things more, you are more intuitive. A realist could be like, you look at the facts, you look at this, and then you look at the context of things. There's a lot of ways to look at art, and I think there's a lot of discourse that you can do. It doesn't have to all be feely lah, or it doesn't have to all be academic. But empathy is the gateway, I feel, to understanding for me. When I try to put myself in their shoes, when I try to think from their perspective and their angle, I may not know about the topic they're talking about. I may not care about the topic they're talking about. I may not even care for the style of art that they do. But I always try to find an entry point. I think finding an entry point is very crucial. And when you find an authentic entry point for yourself, that's when you can write very sincerely. And that's when you can write well. It comes across. Do you have the basics of writing? Unfortunately, this is the area where a lot of times we struggle with the most. I think a lot of people have art knowledge, especially those of you who are artists, you would have art knowledge. The key is to figure out a simple way to put out the thoughts and the information. There are a lot of resources. There are a lot of short courses online you can do. Read a lot of writing, and you don't have to read books per se. You can read articles, read styles. Find someone you like at their style, and I say this very carefully, but not copy, but see the kind of things that they do that makes their writing great, what you like about it, and emulate that. And you emulate the essence of that. Yeah. Look for the voices of the people that you like and work out a style for yourself. So then, can you make things simple, economical? So one of the things that definitely always bring it back down, because art can be so grand. That's my challenge. Like Ho Rui An, when I spoke to him, so many big ideas. But you can only share so many big ideas to an audience at once, How do you then bring it back down? How do you tie it together? How do you, when they say economical, is don't use 3 words when you can use 1 word. That's economical. Jangan pusing, go around the bush and all. A lot of people don't realize that as arts writer, you need to have general knowledge. We need to read news. We need to know what's happening around us, because arts is very much tied to me. Arts is very much tied to life and society. Without that, there's no substance. Art is, like someone said earlier, right? Art is a coping mechanism. Art is a reflection of society. Art is a discourse, a commentary itself. So as arts writer, we need to be informed. We need to be able to draw references. So don't be afraid to ask stupid questions. If you look at something and you don't understand, ask yourself why you don't understand it. What about it that you do not understand? And then go backwards and then start from there. What was the lost point? And you can even talk about that in your write-up, It could be that person is not coming across well. It could be that, when you are at that thing, what is not coming across for you? At the same time, then look at the obvious. Start with even like, this artwork looks very messy. It looks very colorful. Then why? And then when I ask the artist, like, there's this sort of like a, quite a messy, disruptive sort of vibe here, why? And I tell you, they'll be more than happy to explain to you. And of course, accept you're not an expert on every subject, and then find the right experts. So for me, in news, I always find it, I leverage on people like Beverly. I've worked with Beverly. I've always called her like, Beverly, can you give a comment on this? The Diana piece, I asked her for her commentary. And because she would know how to, comment on it. And I am not the expert, and I don't have value in that sense. I also work with, artists. Sometimes certain artists do certain type of works. I would ask them their thoughts. I would cover them. Sometimes you want to talk to gallery owners, you want to talk to collectors even. Find your experts. Even if you're a friend who's very well versed in art, you can just try and quote them without using their name. It's okay. And when in doubt, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. I know I said the word stupid a lot today. But KISS cannot go wrong. As writer's block is very real. But I will also say there's nothing better than a deadline to remove writer's block. So the second last point you see, give yourself a deadline, is true. So have a commitment, like say that I will send it to you, I will publish it, I must post it at this date, and then you will get to it. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to write about something, especially post-show, because you forget your thoughts. So definitely, when you immediately think of something, just type it down on your phone or write it down. And coming back to KISS, the 5 Ws, when you have block, always start with the facts. I always start with the simple. Your 5 Ws are your who, what, why, when, where, and then the one extra H is the how. Be your worst editor. Yeah, be your worst editor. Develop a critical eye for your work as well. So I always say it always helps to walk away, because when we are so into it, we can't see it clearly anymore. Walk away, go have a break, go have dinner, give up when you have to, and then come back to it. I've sat for 10 hours and then nothing is coming out, and I force myself to sit there. It just doesn't work. Walk away, and always reread it after walking away before you send your story or before you put out your story. Get to shows. Definitely, you can't be an arts writer if you don't go out anywhere. Get to different types of shows as well. See things that you don't care for. Even see theatre, see dance, see visual arts. Often they intersect nowadays. Go to those warehouse type places, like go down and go to Rex KL or wherever there is that kind of impromptu experimental shows even. Do your homework. I as a journalist, I know there are many people who have simply sent emails to The Edge, is a business paper, or even Options, and pitch things that are totally not things that we cover. So get to know the landscape, get to know the different platforms, and adapt. That means when you pitch, you should adapt your angles to things that, go look at their websites, go look at their paper, go see what kind of things they write, how they write things, and try to adapt your angle to things that will get them interested in your work, and in you. Create a portfolio, just cover pieces that you have, just write notes, write in a document and put it up. I use clippings.me, and that I put my free 10 articles there, and then I change it. That's one of the things that I do. So it's easy to share that link to someone, and then they can just sort of see the body of your work, And use your contacts, build relationships. I didn't put it in here, but build relationships, not just network. Because a lot of the things that I get are a lot of the extra things that I learn from the people I interview. I learn from theatre directors. I learn from actors. I learn through their updates, when I speak to them on a show. I also ask them, hey, what is this? Do you mind sharing? What is this new thing that you're doing? What is this staging? What is this new concept, Or what is this technique that you're employing in visual arts? Then they will be more than happy to tell you how they do it. And then later on, you will remember that these people have certain expertise in certain things, and you know how to contact them and leverage. And then also helps you get exclusive stories, and it also helps you get good stories.